Let's go back in time nearly 43 years. This is movies that have impacted my life from the year of birth. I've seen this one done purely with horror films, so I'm putting a little twist on it. I'm going to do a horror film, and I'm also going to do a non-horror film for that year and tell you how much of an impact it had on my being. E.T. phone home. I loved E.T. I visually remember it so well, flying across the moon, the sky. I remember being pretty terrified with the hazmat suits, and that is stuck to me to this day. But E.T. is just a phenomenal film. It's so well made, and I absolutely love E.T. That is my pick for 1982. Horror wise, there's quite a few to choose from. Now, of course, I'm obsessed with Creepshow, and that came out in 1982. But I didn't see it for a long time to become obsessed with it. So I'm actually going to pick probably one of the first ones from 1982 that I saw, and obviously it wasn't in 1982, but it was Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. Now, I think I maybe saw this before I saw any Michael Myers films, so I was never tarnished with that whole kind of Michael Myers isn't in it type thing. I'm pretty sure that I saw Halloween 3 before I saw any other Halloween film. So that is my pick for 1982. You've got some really strong contenders. You've got The Thing, you've got Poltergeist, you've got Creepshow, but I'm going with E.T. and Halloween 3. The song from Halloween 3 never leaves your mind. My birthday's on Halloween, 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 Silver Shamrock. I never wanted to go to Deep Sea World ever again after watching this film, and it remained with me all the way up to adulthood. So I am picking Jaws 3 for my horror pick. Do it, strike him down, and you will complete your training, Skywalker. For my non-horror films, I am picking probably, in my eyes, one of the best Star Wars films ever made. You got Ewoks, you got big monsters, you got major fights, you got massive conclusions. Oh, it just blew me away, and it had such an impact on me. I had all the figures. I went to John Menzies and had this little Luke Skywalker in his black attire with a black glove and everything. I had that little figure. I went to my friends so we had the Jabba the Hutt dungeon and everything. This had a major impact on me. We got one! The non-horror one was the very first VHS I ever bought. Never crossed the streams. It was Ghostbusters. I absolutely loved this film. I was obsessed with the comedy of Rick Moranis. I loved the visual effects. I had the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man figure. Love Ghostbusters. So nostalgic. I also had the Ghostbuster house I got for Christmas, and you could pour slime in from the top. I think it was from the real Ghostbusters, but you pour the slime in from the top and it oozes down into the house. I didn't realise is 1984 has many films that have influenced me quite a bit. I picked Ghostbusters because it was the first VHS I ever had, and I think that's a massive influence on me. But there's things like Neverending Story, Terminator. There's quite a few from 1984 that had a massive influence on me, including some of the horror films, which is also quite difficult to choose because obviously I've got Nightmare on Elm Street, which was a massive influence on me, and it stuck with me for so long. But the one that I've gone with is a staple Christmas film, and the reason I picked it is because in involuntary times it makes me go or yam. I mean, a film that can do that, I gotta pick that one. So we're going for Gremlins 1984 as my horror pick. I adore this film. I'm quite happy that there's a third one coming out, but it is a staple every Christmas time. I just love everything about Gremlins. Oh, you're so cool, Brewster! It's Fright Night. For 1985's horror pick, I've picked Fright Night. Chris Sarandon's vampire is terrifying. I remember it very vividly the image of the camera shot from the sky, the twitchy curtain scene. I love Fright Night, and it really did scare me when I was younger. And even looking back on it now, I can still see the fear in there. I mean, Roddy McDowall is like this vampire hunter from the TV who's not really a vampire hunter, but then gets to live out his dream. Like, oh, the effects in it. Fright Night's just amazing. I love Fright Night. Great Scott! It's the Libyans! Lorraine, you're my density. There's only really one film that I can pick, and when you talk about going back in time, it's gotta be Back to the Future. I mean, this is still a staple for me. I pretty much love all of these films, the Back to the Future films, but the original one is just incredible. Just so many quotes in there, it's so much fun, such a good film. I mean, who doesn't want to go back and fall in love with their mum, right? Just me? No. Anyway, ignore that. But yeah, Back to the Future, my 1985 pick. I don't want to go back in time and fall with my mum, by the way. But Back to the Future is my top pick for 1985. Get away from her, ya bitch! The horror films, I've got it down to 2. There's quite a lot from this year. But Friday the 13th Part 6 was very, very close. A horror film I'm going for is Aliens for 1986. Non-horror wise, again, there's quite a lot of choice. I nearly went with Karate Kid Part 2. I was so close to choosing it for 84, the first original Karate Kid. But my non-horror film, I'm actually going for Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's a very fun family film, and it definitely had an impact on me, the whole Bueller. Hello, my name is Antigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Inconceivable! Non-horror films, you got RoboCop, there's quite a few. Predator is kind of in between the two, but that's definitely up there as well. You've got things like Roxanne. There's a lot of films from the Babysitter, Adventures in Babysitting. There are so many 1987 non-horror films that I could have picked for this, but I'm going to go for Princess Bride. It's just an amazing film. It's funny, it's moving, very quotable. As you will. Hurrah! Maggots, Michael. You're eating maggots. Go for, again, a multitude of films. There are so many. I mean, there's even Jaws the Revenge. Only kidding, that would not be in there. But yeah, the one I've gone for is an amazing vampire film, probably in my eyes one of the best vampire films I've ever seen. In Santa Clara is Lost Boys. Again, it's very quotable. It's got some good comedy in there. It's genuinely quite scary. The music is amazing. I love Lost Boys. It's up there with like one of my top films. 1988, an underrated, very dark family film. I don't think you realise how dark it is until you actually look at it. You've got your childhood heroes like Bugs Bunny, and then you've got this psychotic judge dipping cartoon characters in this acid-like dip and disintegrating them. And that is the same universe that Bugs Bunny is living, so he's not safe. Jessica Rabbit, need I say more? What are you gonna do with those pies, boys? Let's talk horror in 1988, and there was quite a lot to choose from, but the one that has had a massive, massive impact on me, and it was actually in later life, is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Killer Clown, wow, 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 wow. This is just a really fun film, and I just became obsessed with it after I watched it. Like, I love all the memorabilia you can get from Killer Clowns. The music is great. There's a show actually where I slowed the music down. The Shadow Puppets. Excuse me, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? Let's go back in time to 1989. I could only pick one non-horror film for 1989. Because I'm obsessed with this film. I don't care what anybody says, come at me. The best Batman film is Batman 1989. Because I absolutely love it. Jack Nicholson is a phenomenal Joker. Michael Keaton is a phenomenal Batman. Tim Burton's music is incredible. I had the playing cards for this film. I had the figures for this film. This is the first film I have a cinema memory of. I remember I couldn't get in because I looked quite young, so I couldn't get into Batman. So we went to see Peter Pan instead, and my dad, he fell asleep and he snored all the way through the ticking of the crocodile. I couldn't hear it. but I went to the toilet and the door was open. It was towards the end. It was the cathedral scene when the Joker is dancing with Vicky Vale, and I remember that memory. I remember seeing it on the big screen. Wait till they get a load of me. For my horror pick, it's quite similar in that I do have a memory of this. I went to a sleepover and we watched Puppet Master. Now I don't have any quotes for you for this film, but I do have a scene that's stuck in my mind, and it is when there's a bit of naughty stuff going on in the bedroom and the man's tied up, and Mrs. Leach is a little puppet. He crawls on top of his stomach and starts spitting leeches onto his stomach, and he can't move because he's all tied up. So I remember that scene from Puppet Master vividly. Oh, Rakosaki. It's 1990. Yeah, but my non-horror pick is the very first pirate film that I actually saw, which was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I love the cartoon and I love the film even more. I just love the sort of the design of the turtles in this. Like I say, it's the first pirate video I ever saw as well. Wasn't the best quality, but a very, very enjoyable film. My horror pick. Billy Boy. But I'm only gonna go 1 year. The one that's made the most impact on me life is probably Stephen King's It from 1990 with the creepy Tim Curry, who did an amazing job at just terrifying so many kids and probably giving them coulrophobia. Very, very good film, very iconic. I mean, when you see somebody standing there with balloons at the side of the road, you're probably going to think of Pennywise, right? The remake was great, but the original definitely had an impact on my life. Come with me if you want to live. Terminator 2. I literally used to try and run like the T-1000 with a serious look and the straight arms, which I later found out he did a breathing technique, and that's how he was able to do it. It looked like he wasn't breathing when he was running. It puts the lotion on or it gets the hose again. Usually pick a horror film and a non-horror film, but we're not actually doing it this time because this is technically a psychological thriller, but it definitely had a lot of impact on me. It's Silence of the Lambs. You see, because Silence of the Lambs was one of the first horror films, technically horror films, that my mum showed me. See, I would watch films with my dad, like Toxic Crusader, which is in the horror genre, even Terminator, close to horror, but mum would never watch stuff like this. But this one, she let me see Silence of the Lambs, and it's pretty horrifying, that one there. Helen, be my victim. It's 1992. Candyman. It was one of the original films that genuinely scare me. Like, there wasn't many films that actually like scared me. It came close. Candyman. I just found it really scary. I just love the atmosphere that it built up. Candyman. Watching it in later years, like all the kind of social commentary in it, it's definitely ahead of its time. Tony Todd is just incredible. Candyman. Candyman. Mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it. A kiss can be even deadlier if you mean it. Batman Returns is the one that I remember. The smell of the cinema, the feel of being in the cinema, because I didn't get into original Batman, as I said previously. So this one, we went to Perth. My dad took me to Perth to see this one, and I still didn't look old enough to get in, but we got in. We got in Perth, and oh my god, I just loved it. I remember watching it on the big screen with all the little penguins running around, and it was just incredible. I was very, very easily pleased in 1992. I found Argos, the shop Argos, very magical. I was like, where does this stuff come from? How does it appear on the shelves? It just appears from nowhere. You write it down on a bit of paper and it just suddenly appears. So when I found a toy shop in Perth with all these Batman Return figures, like, I just remember the feeling of just being so, like, these figures were so magnetic to me. Like, I loved figures when I was a kid, and that day was just so nostalgic. It's one that I haven't forgotten. What is your favourite film from 1992? Stick with me because we're gonna go on to 1993. Hee hee! Follow for more.